There are moments in life that seem completely ordinary until you look back and realize they quietly changed everything. This might be one of those moments. Not because destiny suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Not because someone magically knows exactly what you're thinking. But because sometimes we become so busy protecting our hearts that we stop noticing the people who have been trying, patiently and sincerely, to connect with us. Maybe you've been wondering why certain memories keep returning. Maybe someone's name crosses your mind more often than you expect. Maybe you've been asking yourself whether genuine love still exists in a world where everything feels temporary. If you've ever asked those questions, stay with me until the end of this message. Because today isn't about chasing fantasies. It's about recognizing something many people overlook. Real love is rarely loud. It doesn't always arrive with dramatic speeches or perfect timing. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it gives space. Sometimes it quietly hopes that, when the right moment finally comes, both hearts are ready to listen. Think about your own life for a second. How many conversations ended before either person truly said what they felt? How many misunderstandings grew simply because no one had the courage to speak first? How many opportunities disappeared because fear sounded more convincing than hope? These things happen every day. Not because people don't care. Because they care so deeply that they're afraid of losing what matters most. That's what makes love complicated. The stronger the feeling, the harder it often becomes to express. Perhaps you've experienced this yourself. Maybe there was a time when you wanted to send one message. You opened your phone. Typed the words. Read them again. Then deleted everything. Not because your feelings disappeared. Because you wondered if they would understand. You wondered if it was already too late. You wondered if silence would hurt less than rejection. Many people have stood in that exact place. And many never discover what could have happened if they had found the courage to speak honestly. But here's something important. Healthy relationships are not built by guessing. They are built by communication. By patience. By respect. By choosing honesty even when honesty feels uncomfortable. If someone truly cares about you, chances are they aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for authenticity. Someone who is willing to be real. Someone who can admit fears instead of hiding behind pride. Someone who understands that trust grows through small, consistent actions, not dramatic promises. Take a moment and remember the people who have shown up consistently in your life. Not only during celebrations, but during difficult seasons. The people who checked on you. The people who listened. The people who stayed when things became complicated. Those moments reveal far more than grand romantic gestures ever could. Because love is often measured in consistency. Not intensity. Anyone can create excitement for a day. Few people choose commitment over time. And commitment is where lasting relationships begin. Maybe you've been waiting for someone to understand you completely. The truth is, no one can read another person's heart perfectly. That's why conversations matter. That's why vulnerability matters. That's why choosing openness instead of assumptions changes everything. Imagine two people standing only a few steps apart. Both hoping the other person speaks first. Both believing silence means lack of interest. Both walking away because neither realized they were waiting for exactly the same thing. It happens more often than we realize. Not because love failed. Because fear became louder than honesty. Today, ask yourself one simple question. Have you been protecting your heart? Or preventing it from experiencing something meaningful? There's an important difference. Protecting your heart means having healthy boundaries. Preventing connection means refusing every opportunity before it even begins. One leads to wisdom. The other often leads to regret. Sometimes we convince ourselves we're waiting for the perfect moment. But perfect moments rarely announce themselves. Instead, they quietly arrive disguised as ordinary conversations. Unexpected phone calls. Simple greetings. Honest apologies. Or the courage to finally say, "I appreciate you. I've been thinking about you. I'd like to understand you better." Those simple words carry enormous power. Not because they guarantee a certain outcome. Because they create clarity. And clarity is far more valuable than endless guessing. Here's another truth many people discover later than they wish. The strongest relationships are rarely built overnight. They're built one conversation at a time. One act of kindness at a time. One decision to trust again. One decision to forgive. One decision to keep showing up. If someone truly values you, they won't only appear during easy seasons. They'll also remain when life becomes uncertain. That's when character becomes visible. Anyone can stay while everything is exciting. Loyalty becomes meaningful when circumstances become difficult. Perhaps that's why some of the most beautiful relationships begin with friendship. Not because friendship is less important. Because friendship creates understanding before expectation. Respect before romance. Trust before promises. If you already have someone in your life who consistently encourages your growth, celebrates your victories, respects your boundaries, and supports you during challenges, don't overlook that. Those qualities are rare. Very rare. Our world often celebrates excitement. But lasting happiness usually grows from stability. From mutual respect. From emotional safety. From knowing you don't have to pretend to earn someone's affection. The people worth keeping in your life won't expect you to become someone else. They'll encourage you to become the healthiest version of yourself. That's real support. That's real care. And perhaps that's what this moment is inviting you to notice. Not dramatic signs. Not impossible promises. But the quiet evidence already present around you. The conversations. The kindness. The consistency. The patience. Sometimes what we've been searching for isn't hidden. It's simply been unnoticed. And once you begin noticing it, everything starts to look different. This is only the beginning of the story. You may not realize it yet, but some of the most meaningful changes in life begin long before anyone notices them on the outside. They begin quietly. A single conversation. A simple decision. A small act of courage. These moments rarely make headlines, but they often shape the future in ways we never expect. Think about the people you've met throughout your life. Some stayed only for a season. Some taught you lessons you never wanted to learn but desperately needed. Others walked away without explanation, leaving questions that seemed impossible to answer. At the time, those experiences may have felt unfair. But over time, they help you recognize something important. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to remain forever. Some people are chapters. Others become part of the entire story. The challenge is learning the difference. Many people spend years chasing attention while quietly overlooking genuine care. Attention is easy to give. Care requires effort. Attention can disappear overnight. Care continues even when no one is watching. Imagine two people. One sends exciting messages filled with promises but rarely follows through. The other checks on you after a difficult day, remembers the little details you shared weeks ago, celebrates your progress, and respects your boundaries. Which one is truly investing in the relationship? The answer becomes clear when you stop listening only to words and begin paying attention to actions. Actions reveal priorities. Consistency reveals character. That doesn't mean people are perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has moments of fear, confusion, or uncertainty. Healthy relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on two people who are willing to learn, apologize, forgive, and grow together. That's what makes a connection stronger over time. Not the absence of problems. The willingness to face them honestly. Perhaps someone has been trying to show they care in ways that aren't dramatic. Maybe they remember your favorite song. Maybe they ask how your family is doing. Maybe they notice when you're quieter than usual. Maybe they celebrate your successes without feeling threatened by them. These may seem like small gestures. But small gestures often reveal the deepest affection. Love is rarely measured by grand speeches. It's measured by everyday choices. Choosing kindness when it's easier to argue. Choosing patience when misunderstandings appear. Choosing honesty instead of pretending everything is fine. Those choices build trust. And trust is one of the most valuable gifts two people can share. At the same time, it's worth asking yourself another question. Have you been noticing the effort others make? Or have past disappointments made it difficult to recognize genuine intentions? Pain has a way of changing perspective. After being hurt, it's natural to become more cautious. But caution should protect your peace, not prevent meaningful connections. There's a balance. You don't have to trust everyone immediately. But you also don't have to assume every new person will repeat someone else's mistakes. Every relationship deserves the opportunity to be evaluated on its own actions. Not on someone else's history. That's one of the hardest lessons many people ever learn. Sometimes healing doesn't happen because the world changes. It happens because your perspective changes. You begin expecting honesty instead of perfection. You begin valuing respect over excitement. You begin appreciating consistency more than empty promises. And that's when your relationships start changing too. People who only wanted convenience slowly fade away. People who genuinely value you remain. It might not happen overnight. But over time, patterns become impossible to ignore. Someone who truly cares doesn't only appear when they need something. They make time because you matter. Even if life becomes busy. Even if schedules become complicated. Even if distance exists. Effort has a way of finding a path. Of course, every healthy relationship requires effort from both sides. One person cannot carry everything forever. Communication has to flow in both directions. Listening matters just as much as speaking. Understanding matters just as much as being understood. That's why meaningful conversations often begin with simple honesty. I've been thinking about something. I'd like to understand your perspective. I appreciate having you in my life. Simple words. Powerful impact. Many misunderstandings disappear the moment people stop assuming and start asking. Imagine how many friendships could have been saved. How many families could have healed? How many relationships could have grown stronger if both people had simply chosen one honest conversation instead of weeks of silence? Silence often creates stories that aren't true. Our minds fill empty spaces with fear. We imagine rejection where none exists. We imagine disappointment before anything has even happened. That's why clarity is so valuable. It replaces guessing with understanding. If there is someone important in your life today, consider this. When was the last time they truly knew how much you appreciated them? Not because you assumed they already knew, but because you actually told them. Gratitude has incredible power. People remember how they felt when someone sincerely valued them. Those moments stay with us. Long after gifts are forgotten. Long after achievements fade. Feeling seen. Feeling respected. Feeling appreciated. Those are memories that last. Perhaps that's what this moment is really about. Not predicting the future. Not chasing unrealistic expectations. But recognizing the value of genuine connection while you still have the opportunity to strengthen it. Because life changes quickly. People move. Circumstances change. Opportunities come and go. The conversations we postpone today sometimes become the conversations we wish we had tomorrow. So if your heart has been encouraging you to become a little more open, a little more patient, a little more honest, maybe it's worth listening. Not because every story ends the same way, but because every meaningful relationship begins with someone choosing courage over fear. And often, that single choice becomes the turning point neither person ever forgets. The story is still unfolding, and what comes next may help you see your own relationships in a completely new light. As life moves forward, we often discover that the moments we remember most were never the loudest ones. They were the quiet conversations that stayed with us. The unexpected smile on an ordinary day. The message that arrived at exactly the right time. The person who noticed something was wrong before anyone else did. These moments don't demand attention. They earn it. Perhaps you've spent so much time wondering whether someone truly cares that you've forgotten to notice how care is usually expressed. It isn't always dramatic. It doesn't always arrive wrapped in perfect words. Sometimes it's simply someone making space for you in their life. Someone asking how you're doing and genuinely waiting for the answer. Someone remembering the little things you mentioned weeks ago. Someone believing in you even during seasons when you struggled to believe in yourself. Those actions may seem ordinary, but they speak a language that words alone never can. Think about the strongest relationships you've ever seen. Whether it was grandparents who spent decades together, lifelong friends who never lost touch, or family members who stood beside each other through difficult times. What kept those relationships alive? It wasn't constant excitement. It was commitment. It was choosing kindness repeatedly. It was showing up even when life became complicated. That's what lasting love looks like. Not perfection. Consistency. Maybe someone has been trying to show you that consistency. Not through dramatic declarations, but through dependable actions. Maybe they've respected your boundaries when others ignored them. Maybe they've encouraged your dreams instead of competing with them. Maybe they've celebrated your victories without expecting anything in return. These are qualities worth noticing. Because genuine affection often reveals itself in the ordinary. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that love must always feel intense to be real. In reality, healthy love often brings something different. Peace. Safety. Trust. The feeling that you can be yourself without constantly worrying about being judged. That kind of connection doesn't happen by accident. It grows slowly. Conversation after conversation. Choice after choice. Day after day. There may have been times when fear convinced you that opening your heart wasn't worth the risk. Maybe disappointment made you more cautious. Maybe broken trust made you question everyone's intentions. Those experiences shape us. But they don't have to define every future relationship. Each new connection deserves to be understood for what it truly is, not compared to what happened before. Healing begins when we allow ourselves to see people clearly instead of through the lens of old pain. That doesn't mean ignoring red flags. It means giving honesty the opportunity to reveal itself. Real trust isn't blind. It's built. Piece by piece. Over time. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly trust someone completely. You reach that place because their actions continue matching their words. Again and again. When that happens, something remarkable occurs. The walls you've spent years building begin to feel less necessary. Not because you've become careless. Because you found someone who respects what those walls were protecting. Respect changes everything. A relationship built on mutual respect can survive misunderstandings. It can survive stressful seasons. It can survive imperfect days. Because both people remember they're on the same team. Imagine how different life becomes when you stop asking, "Will this person leave?" and start asking, "How can we continue building trust together?" That small shift changes the entire relationship. Instead of living in fear, you begin living with intention. Instead of assuming the worst, you begin communicating more openly. Instead of waiting for certainty, you create understanding together. Meaningful relationships don't happen to us. They're built by us. Every thoughtful conversation. Every sincere apology. Every promise that's actually kept. These become the foundation for something lasting. If you've ever admired couples or friendships that seem deeply connected, remember this. You're seeing the result of countless small decisions that happened long before anyone noticed. Moments when they chose patience over pride. Listening over interrupting. Understanding over winning. Forgiveness over resentment. Those choices aren't always easy. But they are always worthwhile. There is another truth worth remembering. Sometimes the greatest expression of love isn't saying the perfect thing. It's being fully present. Putting the phone down. Making eye contact. Listening without planning your response. Giving someone your attention without rushing them. In a world filled with distractions, genuine attention has become one of the rarest gifts we can offer. And perhaps one of the most meaningful. Maybe that's what someone has been hoping for all along. Not perfection. Not impossible expectations. Just the chance to be heard. To be understood. To know that what they feel matters. If you have someone in your life who consistently treats you with kindness, honesty, and respect, don't take that for granted. Those qualities become more valuable with time. Because character never goes out of style. Looks change. Circumstances change. Success comes and goes. But integrity remains. And relationships built on integrity often become the strongest ones of all. As you continue through your own journey, remember this. You don't have to force meaningful connections. You simply have to recognize them when they appear. Be willing to communicate. Be willing to listen. Be willing to grow. Sometimes, the next chapter of your life doesn't begin with a dramatic event. It begins with one sincere conversation that both people have been quietly hoping to have. And when that conversation finally happens, you'll realize it wasn't about finding perfect words. It was about finding the courage to speak them. The story isn't over yet. In fact, the most meaningful part may still be ahead. Sometimes we spend so much time looking for unmistakable signs that we overlook the quiet evidence already in front of us. Life has a gentle way of teaching us that the strongest connections rarely begin with certainty. They begin with curiosity, with respect, with two people choosing to learn about each other instead of assuming they already know everything. Think back to the people who have left a lasting impact on your life. Chances are, it wasn't because they always said the perfect thing. It was because they made you feel heard. They remembered what mattered to you. They encouraged you when you doubted yourself. They celebrated your progress, even when the victories seemed small. Those are the moments that stay with us. Not because they were dramatic. Because they were genuine. If someone has been consistently showing up with kindness, patience, and respect, don't dismiss those qualities simply because they aren't flashy. The strongest relationships are often built on ordinary days. A conversation over coffee. A walk without distractions. A simple message asking, "How are you really doing?" These moments may not seem extraordinary at first. But over time, they become the foundation of trust. Trust isn't created in a single moment. It's earned through countless small moments that prove someone is dependable. It's choosing honesty even when it's uncomfortable. It's admitting mistakes instead of hiding them. It's keeping promises, especially the small ones. Those are the actions that quietly say, "You matter to me." Maybe you've been waiting for someone to make the first move. Maybe someone else has been waiting for exactly the same thing. Fear has a way of convincing both people to stay silent. It whispers that speaking honestly is too risky. That being vulnerable might lead to disappointment. But silence has its own cost. It leaves room for assumptions. It allows misunderstandings to grow. And sometimes, it causes two people who genuinely care about each other to drift apart without ever knowing what might have been. That doesn't mean every conversation will unfold perfectly. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. But every honest conversation gives you something valuable. Clarity. And clarity allows you to move forward with confidence instead of endless questions. There is freedom in knowing where you stand. Whether the answer is yes, no, or let's take our time, honesty creates a path forward. Many of life's greatest regrets don't come from trying and failing. They come from never trying at all. From wondering years later what might have happened if we had simply spoken from the heart. If there is someone important in your life today, ask yourself a simple question. Have I shown them the same care and attention that I hope to receive? Healthy relationships are never one-sided. They grow when both people choose to contribute. A kind word. A thoughtful gesture. A willingness to listen. These simple choices often matter far more than expensive gifts or grand displays. Love is not measured by how loudly it is announced. It is measured by how faithfully it is lived. That is why consistency will always be more powerful than intensity. Intensity can fade. Consistency builds a future. Perhaps this is also a moment to reflect on yourself. Are you becoming the kind of person who can build the relationship you hope to have? Are you growing in patience? In empathy? In honesty? The healthiest relationships are created by two people who are both committed to growing, not by two people who expect the other to do all the work. Growth takes time. It requires humility. It requires the willingness to learn from mistakes rather than pretending they never happened. No one gets everything right. What matters is the commitment to keep learning, to keep communicating, and to keep treating each other with respect. If you've experienced disappointment before, remember this. Past experiences can teach valuable lessons, but they don't have to write the rest of your story. Every new chapter deserves to begin without carrying the full weight of the previous one. Healing doesn't erase the past. It helps you move beyond it. And when healing begins, your perspective changes. You stop chasing people who offer confusion. You begin valuing those who offer peace. You stop looking for perfection. You begin appreciating sincerity. You stop measuring relationships by dramatic moments. You begin measuring them by trust, respect, and shared growth. Those qualities may not attract instant attention, but they create lasting happiness. As you continue your journey, remember that meaningful connections rarely arrive fully formed. They are built through everyday choices. Through honesty. Through patience. Through showing up again and again. If someone has been making that effort, notice it. If you have been making that effort, don't lose heart. The right relationships are strengthened by mutual care, not by perfection. Perhaps the most important moment isn't a dramatic event waiting somewhere in the future. Perhaps it's the next conversation you choose to have with openness, kindness, and courage. Because sometimes, the future changes not because something extraordinary happens, but because two people finally decide to stop wondering and start understanding each other. The story is still unfolding, and the next chapter begins with the choices you make today. Every meaningful relationship reaches a point where feelings alone are no longer enough. There comes a moment when actions begin speaking louder than emotions. A moment when both people quietly ask themselves, "Can I trust this person with my time? Can I trust them with my dreams? Can I trust them with the parts of my heart that no one else has seen?" Those questions aren't answered in a single day. They're answered over time. One honest conversation after another. One fulfilled promise after another. One difficult season after another. Because anyone can stay when life is easy. Character is revealed when life becomes challenging. Think about the people you admire most. They probably aren't perfect. They've likely made mistakes, faced setbacks, and experienced disappointments. Yet something about them stands out. They remain dependable. They keep their word. They treat people with respect, even when respect isn't returned. That kind of character is rare. And when two people with that mindset meet, they don't just build a relationship. They build a partnership. A place where both people can continue growing without pretending to be someone they're not. Perhaps that's what you've been searching for all along. Not someone who has all the answers, but someone willing to discover the answers together. Someone who celebrates your strengths without ignoring your humanity. Someone who encourages your dreams while reminding you to care for yourself along the way. Those qualities don't always capture attention immediately. But over time, they become priceless. The strongest relationships often look ordinary from the outside. There are no dramatic headlines. No constant excitement. Instead, there are daily acts of kindness. Shared laughter after long days. Respect during disagreements. Support during uncertainty. Those simple moments become the memories people treasure most. It's easy to assume that love should always feel effortless. In reality, healthy relationships require intention. Not because love is difficult. Because people are different. Different experiences. Different fears. Different communication styles. Different hopes for the future. Learning another person's heart takes time. It requires curiosity instead of assumptions. Questions instead of conclusions. Patience instead of pressure. When both people choose that path, understanding grows naturally. One of the greatest gifts you can offer someone is emotional safety. Creating an environment where they know they can speak honestly without fear of being mocked, ignored, or misunderstood. When people feel safe, conversations become deeper. Trust becomes stronger. Connection becomes more meaningful. Maybe someone has been hoping for exactly that kind of conversation with you. Not because they expect perfection. Because they value authenticity. Authenticity creates room for genuine relationships to flourish. Masks may attract attention. But honesty builds lasting connection. Take a moment and imagine your future self looking back on this season of life. What do you hope you'll remember? The opportunities you avoided because fear seemed easier? Or the conversations you embraced because growth mattered more than comfort? Most people don't regret being kind. They don't regret expressing appreciation. They don't regret listening carefully. They regret the moments they allowed fear to make decisions that should have been guided by wisdom. Life moves faster than we expect. Months become years. Ordinary days become treasured memories. That's why the people who matter deserve to know they matter. Not through constant reassurance, but through consistent respect. Through thoughtful attention. Through being fully present. Perhaps someone has already shown you those qualities. Perhaps you've shown them to someone else. Either way, remember this. Meaningful relationships are never built by accident. They are built through countless intentional choices that often go unnoticed by everyone except the two people involved. The world often encourages instant results. Healthy relationships teach a different lesson. The best things grow steadily. Like a tree whose roots become stronger long before anyone admires its height. Real trust grows beneath the surface. Invisible at first. But becoming strong enough to support something beautiful. And when storms eventually arrive, as they always do, it isn't excitement that keeps people together. It's the foundation they've patiently built over time. So as you continue writing your own story, don't rush the chapters that are meant to develop slowly. Allow trust to grow. Allow respect to deepen. Allow conversations to become more honest. Sometimes the most extraordinary relationships begin in the most ordinary ways. With a sincere hello. A thoughtful question. A willingness to understand instead of judge. Those small beginnings often become the stories people cherish for the rest of their lives. And perhaps that's the reminder this moment offers. Don't overlook the value of genuine connection simply because it arrives quietly. The most meaningful chapters rarely begin with fireworks. They begin with two people choosing, day after day, to value honesty, kindness, patience, and respect. Those choices may seem small today. But years from now, they may become the reason you look back and smile, realizing that what changed your life wasn't one dramatic moment. It was the quiet decision to open your heart to a connection that had been growing all along. And sometimes, that single decision becomes the beginning of everything that follows. As you continue listening, pause for a moment and think about this question. What if the most important connection in your life isn't asking you to become someone different? What if it's inviting you to become more fully yourself? So many people spend years trying to impress others. They wear masks. They hide their fears. They pretend they never struggle. They smile when they're exhausted. They say, "I'm fine," even when they're carrying more than anyone realizes. But genuine relationships are never built on performances. They are built on honesty. The right people don't expect you to be perfect every day. They appreciate your willingness to be real. That doesn't mean sharing every thought with everyone. It means allowing the people who have earned your trust to know the person behind the smile. Because connection grows where authenticity is welcomed. There is something remarkable about being accepted without pretending. It brings peace. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on constant reassurance. The kind of peace that quietly says, I don't have to prove my worth every single day. Many people spend years searching for that feeling, not realizing it begins by accepting themselves first. When you understand your own value, you stop chasing people who only appreciate you when it's convenient. You stop settling for conversations that leave you confused. You stop ignoring your own boundaries just to keep someone interested. Instead, you begin choosing relationships where respect flows both ways. That's a powerful change. Because healthy relationships never ask one person to carry everything alone. Both people contribute. Both people listen. Both people apologize when necessary. Both people celebrate each other's victories. That balance creates stability. And stability creates trust. Perhaps someone in your life has been quietly demonstrating those qualities. Maybe they don't always know the perfect words. Maybe they're not the most expressive person. But they consistently show kindness through their actions. They remember important moments. They encourage your goals. They check in after difficult days. They notice when something feels different. Those gestures matter. In fact, they often matter more than dramatic declarations that disappear as quickly as they arrive. Actions create confidence. Words create possibilities. Healthy relationships need both. If you've been waiting for certainty before taking a step toward a meaningful conversation, remember this. Certainty rarely comes first. Understanding comes first. Certainty grows afterward. Every lasting friendship. Every lasting partnership. Every lasting family bond has been strengthened by countless conversations where neither person knew exactly how everything would turn out. They simply chose honesty. And honesty created trust. Life has a surprising way of rewarding those quiet choices. Not always immediately. But over time. The people who communicate with respect usually build stronger relationships. The people who choose patience instead of assumptions usually experience deeper understanding. The people who remain kind during difficult seasons often discover the greatest strength within themselves. Those are timeless principles. They never lose their value. As you reflect on your own journey, consider the relationships that have brought genuine peace into your life. Notice what they have in common. Perhaps they made you feel safe. Perhaps they respected your opinions even when they disagreed. Perhaps they celebrated your growth instead of feeling threatened by it. Those qualities deserve your attention. Because they reveal character. And character is one of the strongest foundations any relationship can have. At the same time, ask yourself another question. Are you becoming that kind of person for others? Are you offering the same patience you hope to receive? The same honesty? The same encouragement? Meaningful relationships flourish when both people choose to give as well as receive. It's never about keeping score. It's about creating an environment where both individuals feel valued. One encouraging sentence can change someone's entire day. One thoughtful conversation can rebuild trust. One sincere apology can begin healing. Never underestimate the power of small moments. History is filled with lives changed by simple decisions. A conversation that almost didn't happen. A message that almost wasn't sent. A friendship that began with a simple hello. Those ordinary beginnings often lead to extraordinary stories. Perhaps your own story is still unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. Not because everything is predetermined, but because every choice you make today influences the opportunities you'll recognize tomorrow. Choose openness over assumptions. Choose respect over pride. Choose patience over pressure. Choose kindness even when it's easier to walk away. Those choices rarely make headlines, but they shape lives. And years from now, when you look back on this season, you may discover that the turning point wasn't a dramatic event at all. It was the quiet decision to value genuine connection, communicate honestly, and appreciate the people who consistently showed up with care and respect. Sometimes the moments that change us forever don't announce themselves. They simply arrive. Softly. Patiently. Waiting for us to recognize their value before they quietly become part of our story. And perhaps this is one of those moments. There is one final thought I want to leave with you before this chapter comes to a close. Life has a way of placing people in our path at unexpected times. Sometimes we meet someone when we're confident and hopeful. Other times, we meet them while we're still healing, still learning, still trying to understand ourselves. Neither season makes you unworthy of meaningful connection. Growth doesn't disqualify you from being cared for. In fact, some of the strongest relationships are built by two people who encourage each other to become better with every passing day. Think about how much you've changed over the last few years. The things that once seemed impossible have become part of your story. Challenges that once felt overwhelming have turned into lessons. Moments that brought tears eventually brought wisdom. You are not the same person you used to be. And that's something to be grateful for. Growth often happens so gradually that we don't notice it until we stop and look back. Relationships grow the same way. Not through one unforgettable day, but through hundreds of ordinary days filled with small acts of care. A kind message. A patient conversation. A shared laugh. A sincere apology. A promise kept. These moments may never appear extraordinary to anyone else. Yet together, they create something incredibly valuable. A bond built on trust. Perhaps someone has been hoping to build that kind of connection with you. Not because they expect perfection, but because they appreciate your character. The way you keep trying. The way you care about the people around you. The way you continue moving forward even after difficult seasons. Sometimes we underestimate the qualities others admire in us. We focus on our flaws while overlooking our strengths. But people who genuinely value you often notice things you don't see in yourself. Your resilience. Your kindness. Your willingness to help. Your quiet determination. Those qualities leave a lasting impression. Remember this. Healthy relationships don't require you to become someone you're not. They invite you to become the best version of who you already are. That journey takes time. And time is never wasted when it's spent growing in wisdom, compassion, and understanding. As you move forward, let your choices reflect the kind of future you hope to build. Choose conversations that bring clarity. Choose friendships that encourage growth. Choose relationships where respect is mutual. Choose honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Choose patience, even when progress feels slow. Those choices create a foundation that can support something meaningful for years to come. The future isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built through the habits you practice every day. The words you speak. The promises you keep. The way you treat the people who trust you. One day, you'll look back and realize that the moments you almost overlooked were the ones that mattered most. The conversation you almost didn't have. The opportunity you almost ignored. The friendship you almost walked away from. The simple act of choosing understanding instead of assumption. Those small decisions often shape the biggest chapters of our lives. So wherever you are today, don't rush your story. Keep growing. Keep learning. Keep becoming someone who values honesty, kindness, and respect. Meaningful relationships are not found by accident. They are built through intention, one day at a time. And if this message encouraged you to reflect on the relationships in your own life, take a moment today to appreciate the people who consistently show up with care, integrity, and respect. Sometimes a simple "thank you" can strengthen a bond more than we realize. Sometimes an honest conversation can open a door that has been waiting quietly for the right moment. And sometimes the greatest step forward begins with a single decision: to stop assuming, to start listening, and to value the people who genuinely value you. Thank you for spending these moments with me. If this message resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who might need the same reminder today. And remember this: the strongest connections are rarely built in a single extraordinary moment. They are built through ordinary moments filled with extraordinary sincerity. Take care of the people who bring peace into your life. Be that kind of person for others. And never underestimate the quiet power of genuine kindness, honest communication, and a heart willing to grow. Until next time, keep moving forward with hope, wisdom, and gratitude. Your next meaningful chapter may begin sooner than you think. Before you leave, carry this one thought with you. No matter where you are in your journey, never underestimate the value of genuine connection. The people who truly care about you won't always have perfect words, but they'll make an effort to understand you, respect you, and grow alongside you. If this message encouraged you today, let it be a reminder to appreciate the relationships built on honesty, kindness, patience, and trust. Those are the connections that stand the test of time. Thank you for spending these moments with me. I hope this message brought you encouragement, hope, and a fresh perspective on the relationships that matter most. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future messages focused on personal growth, meaningful relationships, and living with purpose. If this message reminded you of someone important, consider sharing it with them. Sometimes a simple message at the right time can encourage someone more than we realize. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What quality do you believe matters most in a lasting relationship? Trust, honesty, kindness, or communication? Your thoughts may encourage someone else who reads them. Until next time, take care of yourself, value the people who value you, and keep choosing kindness, wisdom, and courage in every chapter of your life. Because the most meaningful stories are not written in a single extraordinary moment. They are written one sincere conversation, one thoughtful action, and one faithful day at a time. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.